Charles Darwin and the other great scientists. Charles Robert Darwin. Charles Robert Darwin was an English naturalist, geologist, and a biologist best known for his contribution to the science of evolution. His proposition that all species of life have descended over time from common ancestor is now widely accepted and considered a foundational concept in science. In a joint publication with Alfred Russel Wallace, he introduced his scientific theory that his branching pattern of evolution resulted from a process that he called natural selection, in which the struggle for existence has a similar effect to the uh, artificial selection involved in selective breeding. Darwin has been described as one of the most influential figures in human history, and he was heralded by Brigham and Westminster Abbey. Darwin published his theory of evolution with compelling evidence in his 1859 book on the origin of species. By the 1870s, the scientific communication, a majority of the educated public had accepted evolution as a fact. However, many favorite compelling explanations which give only a minor role to natural selection, and it was not until the emergence of the modern evolutionary synthesis from the 1930s to the 1950s that a broad consensus developed in which natural selection was the basic mechanism of evolution. Darwin's scientific discovery is a unifying theory of the life sciences explaining the diversity of life. A biography. Charles Robert Darwin was born in Shrewsbury on uh, 20 February 1809 at his family's home, the Mounds. He was the fifth of six children of wealthy secretary doctor and the financier Robert Darwin and Susan Darwin. His grandfather Erasmus Darwin and Josiah Whitwood were both prominent absolutely. Painting of the 7-year-old Charles Darwin in 1917 by Ellen Chaplin. A survey voyage of HMS Beagle. After leaving Sidgwick in Wallace, Darwin spent a week with student friends at Bathmount. They returned home on 29th August to find a letter from Hinslow proposing him as a suitable naturalist for a self-funded supernumerary place on HMS Beagle with Captain Robert Fitzroy, impressing that his was a position for a gentleman rather than a mere collector. The ship was level in 4 weeks on an expedition to chart the coastline of South America. On the geological New Galapagos Island, Darwin looked for evidence attacking wildlife on all the center of creation and found mockingbirds all to see a child but differing from Iceland to Iceland. He heard that tortoise-like variations in the shape of tortoise shells showed which island they came from, but failed to collect them even after eating tortoises taken on board as food. In Australia, the marsupial rat kangaroo and the platoon Smith so unusual that Darwin thought it was almost as those two distract creators had been at work. Darwin's evolutionary theory. Darwin's theory of evolution decided that species survived through a process called natural selection, as where those that successfully adapted or evolved to meet the changing requirements of their natural habitat thrived and reproduced, while those sciences that failed to evolve and reproduced thereof. Through his observation and the situated of birds, plants, and fossils, Darwin noted similarities among species all over the globe, along with variation based on specific locations, leading him to believe that the species you know today had gradually evolved from common ancestry. The main scientific works of Darwin, Zoology Travel, in 1859, Darwin published his work, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, which showed the variability in plant and animal species. In 1969, Darwin published his second work, excited with the theory of evolution, the variability of plants and animals, domesticated in the state, which included many examples of the evolution of organisms. In 1871, there is another important work of Darwin, the Decide of a Man and Sexual Selection, in which Darwin stated arguments in favor of natural organ of man from animals. Carol's Linnaeus. Linnaeus was born on May 23, 1707 in Småland, Sweden. He was the firstborn to Cherisen Brodesen and Niels Ingermason Linnaeus. His father was a Lutheran minister and his mother was the daughter of the record of Sten Brachult. In his spare time, Niels Linnaeus spent time gardening and teaching Carl about plants. Uh, professional achievements in taxonomy. Carl Linnaeus is best known for his innovative classification system called taxonomy. He published system Nature in 1735, in which he outlined his way of classifying plants. The classification system was primarily based on his expertise of plant sexuality, but it was met with mixed reviews from traditional botanists of the time. Linnaeus desire to have universal naming system for living. This led him to the use of binomial nomenclature to organize the botanical collection at Uppsala University. And Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, he is born August 1, 1744, Byzantine Petit, pioneering French biologist who is best known for his idea that accurate characters are inheritable, an idea known as Lamarckism, which is controverted by modern genetics and evolutionary theory. Lamarckian evolution. While he was working on Google, Lamarck had the idea to apply the principle of erosion to biology. This led him to the basic principle of evolution, which saw the fluids in organs inheriting more complex form and functions. This passing on this traits to the organism descendants. This was resolved from Lamarck's previous view published in his Memoirs of Psysis and the Natural History, in which he briefly reference to the immutability of species. Conclusion. Darwin published many books as a result of his journey, and in 1859 he finally published The Origin of Species Through Natural Selection, which he had been working on since 1837. This theory has challenged many people's ideas about how the world works, and spawned train called Darwinism. Charles Darwin died at age 72 on his estate on drowned several animals and a geographical feature named after him. References. Thank you.